So, I'm a woman in my 30s who has recently been through a very turbulent situation. Ask when I heard such words as a marriage, in laws, and AT family. I lived thinking those words would be far from me when I was in my 20s. But when I got married and had a child, those words touched me so much. I would also like to introduce my story. I think I should start talking about when I met my husband. I was 25 when I first met my husband. At the time, I had graduated from college and was working in customer service. The company I worked for was small and sold skin beauty devices. Since it was a small company, I had to do not only customer service but also various other tasks. At some festive interiors, while learning work from my husband, I started to have feelings for him. My husband was 10 years older than me, and he was a bit difficult for me because of his higher position, but he was always kind. Actually, the first job I had before had a lot of work, and the people were cold-hearted. Thus, when I came to this company, I had a lot of worries. However, once I started working, people were nice, especially my husband. He took good care of me, knowingly and unknowingly, so there were many times when I was energized rather than exhausted. I found out later that it was all because he was interested in me. Then one day, my husband and I happened to have a chance to have a meal together. Because we were drinking, our conversations related to work turned personal, like, "Do you have a boyfriend? What kind of person are you? What are your favorite hobbies?" And that day became the day we started dating. My husband and I dated for about 2 years. During our relationship, my husband never let me down. He always prioritized me, even in the smallest things. If I was even a little depressed, he would come to me at 1 a.m. and ask how I was doing. Besides that, taking care of me, like a friend, like a lover, he was a person who stayed by my side like my family. Maybe that was why, despite the big age difference between us, I was greedy to get married quickly and make him mine. When my husband brought up the topic of getting married, I was more than happy to say yes. Brought up the topic of marriage without hesitation, I immediately nodded my head, and we finally set up a time to introduce him to my parents. Because of the 10-year age difference, my husband was very nervous to meet my parents. His legs trembled even as I gave him a sedative. "What should I do if your mother and father look at me badly? What if they hate me because of my age?" "Don't worry, honey. My mom and dad already know how old you are, and I got permission for that part. My mom told me from a long time ago that being a good person is the most important thing, whether it's for marriage or dating. As long as a person has a good personality, she said that age doesn't matter. I'm sure my mom would like you too." My husband still couldn't relax his frowning eyebrows and was anxious, but he finally put his mind at ease with my parents' hospitality that soon followed. The atmosphere was really friendly. My mom heard the detailed story about how good my husband had been to me, and because she already knew, she thanked my husband for taking care of me. She gave us her blessings. Even my quiet dad didn't say much, but he seemed to like him. But the problem was my in-laws. Honestly, like my husband, I was worried. I heard that my husband's family inherited a lot of money from generation to generation. My husband didn't go into detail about this, but his father also took good care of the inheritance. I heard he ran a very successful business. I was nervous without even realizing it. Well, your name is Yolanda, is it? What do you do at your work? Oh, right. You said you are doing customer service or something. So, what do your mother and father do? Arriving at my prospective in-laws' house, and before I even sat down, a bombardment of questions poured out to me. When one meets for the first time, normally a word of welcome would be more appropriate, but it was omitted altogether, and I was busy answering my mother-in-law's machine gun firing questions. Still, since it was a place to see my elders, I thought I answered with the utmost sincerity. My dad is a driver, and my mom works at a department store. Working at a department store at that age. What is she doing? My mom is a cleaning lady. She's been working for a long time. What? Cleaning. My mother-in-law's expression hardened instantly when she heard me say that my mom was a cleaning lady. My father-in-law, who's next to her, also seemed somewhat agitated. Perhaps he was being like that after seeing his wife's hardened expression. Even though she didn't tell me in front of my face, I heard from my husband that she would not allow his marriage to me. The reason was that my family situation was not good. She was not good and didn't think my behavior would be upright as a woman. She will have to give birth and raise children later, but if her mother is a cleaner and her father was that kind of job, what a hard life it must have been to make a living. It's obvious, and they don't have to see. If she had grown up in a household like that, she wouldn't have learned anything properly. So isn't that why she is doing a job like that in your company? It's not that I see her as a bad person, but it's just that the reality is like that. Son, listen to your mother. You have nothing to lose by listening to me, your mother. From what I've seen, she is not right as your bride. She is definitely a woman who will only sprinkle bad ashes into your life. She is only looking at our family's money. And the other day, when she came to say hello, I met her just for a little while, and she looked like nothing. If she were coming to a place like that, she should have dressed up better, but she looked scruffy. She looked older than you. The conversation between the mother-in-law and my husband, which I overheard, was literally a spectacle. How could she pour out such harsh and heartless words to someone she had met only once? I was so hurt that I came home crying and couldn't even tell about it to my mother. I was alone, trying to put up with it, and it made me think about marriage once again. I don't know how great your family is. I didn't expect anything from your family. How could she know what kind of family I'm from? And did I ask for money or anything? It's a marriage decided only by looking at what kind of a person you are. Why should I be treated like this? Let's really stop now. I hate being treated like this trash. But it was my husband who held on to me. No, Yolanda, I really can't be without you. I'll try to convince my mother somehow. After all, marriage is for the two of us. It's a thing of the past to talk about the bonding of the two families as in-laws. Can't you trust me just once? I'll fix it. Give it to me. And no matter what my mom says, I'll protect you. At the time, I desired to break up very much, but I also loved my husband, so I was persuaded by his words. Who said that the in-laws' ties were all a thing of the past and that the marriage is for the two of us. After I got persuaded by my husband, we were able to get married, but my mother-in-law's rude behavior was revealed at the dinner where both sides of the family were meeting for the first time. Right before the wedding, my mother-in-law said to my mom, "Oh, by the way, you said you were cleaning at the department store, right? Where's the department store by any chance? I heard that the place where you live is close to me, so it might be the place I go to." I don't mean by anything except that there's a luxury brand store that I often go, so I go to the department store once or twice a month. But some department stores are clean and others have dirty floors. I'm sure you will definitely work hard on cleanliness, but cleanliness is important to the customers who go to and from the department store. But really, how annoying is it to see the messy place that doesn't keep up with cleanliness? Then I don't really feel like shopping. Maybe that kind of department store doesn't even have a lot of revenue. Yes, I work at a department store on the Upper Side. I worked there for a long time, and the working environment is also good. I always pay attention to cleanliness. Other than at my place of work, let's meet later in a nicer place. I wondered why she was asking where my mom works at a dinner meeting like this, and why did she suddenly bring up the topic of department stores' cleanliness? I felt really perturbed. It was as if she was pouring out her accumulated grievances on my mom, a cleaning lady. My father's expression immediately froze at my mother-in-law's absurd behavior, and even my husband sighed beside her as if he couldn't stop her. My mother-in-law's subsequent words were all about her, how affluent her own family was, or how great her son was. After that, more difficulties awaited us. With the money my husband and I saved, we got a house for our newlyweds that was close to our work, and I was honestly worried because it was a little too close to my mother-in-law's house. But as expected, my mother-in-law came in and out of our newlyweds' house very naturally from some point on. She dropped by since she knew the passcode of the electronic lock without any advance notice. She looked around our house, and every time, it was like getting an accounting audit of some sort. She would start by inspecting the food in the refrigerator and secretly swept the dust with her finger to see if the counters or furniture were cleaned. Irritated distress that I didn't even get at work was building up on its own. But oh mind, this food is past the expiration date, so why didn't you just throw it away? If my son drank this by mistake, what if he got sick? Are you doing the housekeeping properly? When you got married, you said you wanted to go to work more, so I said yes. But isn't it because of work that you're not really paying attention to housework? So the food you have is always the same. Besides, this stir-fried pasta is something my son, Eddie, doesn't even like. Somehow all the sides you don't seem to suit Eddie's taste. Could it be that you only make menus that you like? No, Mother. The pasta is the one that Eddie asked me to make. To make our meal preparation tends to be done by one who has the time to make it, and we take turns. I buy some takeout food sometimes. Eddie and I both agreed on it. Thank you for coming and giving us advice, but could you leave the household matters to us? One day, she came and complained about the same thing again, so I really took the courage to say it because I didn't want to hear it anymore. My mother-in-law lightly dismissed my opinion and was obsessed with something else. What? Are you saying that you buy takeout foods? No. What kind of money do you mean to buy takeout foods for dinner? I never understood people like that all my life, but oh my God, that was my daughter-in-law. Everything you eat outside is lumps of chemical seasoning. For my son Eddie, I'd always made it at home myself. No matter how busy I was, I have fed and raised him with so much care, but now you are feeding him bought food. It's crazy. You can never buy and feed that to my son over my dead body. If you can't do it, I'll come over to your house and make it for you. The thought of my mother-in-law being in the kitchen every evening made me feel dizzy. There were no worse horror movies than that. At those words, I hurriedly shook my head and said that I will make the most of it and sent her back as if to soothe the child. One day, I suddenly thought that if I had known that my mother-in-law had pampered my husband like this, would I've gotten married. Even if I loved my husband, I couldn't deal with my mother-in-law, who wanted to live with her married son like that. Honey, couldn't you talk to your mother and make her stop coming over to our house without any notice like that now? Actually, I'm having a hard time. Of course, it's nice that she sometimes brings food, but she doesn't come here just for that. She appears like a grim inspector and searches every nook and cranny of the house. She's a mother to you, but I'm kind of uncomfortable. I think differently. Aren't you reacting too sensitively? To be honest, it's true that my mother often comes, but she's doing everything for you and me. So isn't it something to be thankful for? Because you're at work indeed, you can't pay attention to housework. I like it when my mother makes food because I want to eat her food. At that time, I was quite shocked. When we were dating, my husband acted as if he would even give his heart to me. But once we got married, he sided with his mother. Ik spreek Koreaninsia en Sia Ao-en. I said it in the best possible atmosphere, knowing that my husband was tired from work these days. But the way he reacted right away was so absurd. Honestly, if my mom was like that, would my husband be comfortable? He would have been uncomfortable too, but he couldn't understand my feelings. And when my husband said he only liked his mom's food, he really looked like a 10-year-old kid. Since then, I have drastically reduced the number of times I talk to my husband. I couldn't say anything good, and I couldn't even get it out of my mouth. But my mother-in-law didn't stop there. One day, she suddenly called and asked me to go to the department store. She said that I should raise my eye level when buying clothes and wearing them. By the way, my mother-in-law loved to do luxury brand shopping a lot. My father-in-law said that he should pass on his money to their children, and he was a bit reluctant to spend money and would scold his wife for overspending, but with her stubborn personality, words fell on deaf ears. But another fiasco happened. She put on a red dress and a blue dress, and my mother-in-law, who was trying to choose, asked me what color would be better. As for reference, the clothes my mother-in-law chose were bright, solid colored ones, reminiscent of the traffic lights. The design was so bad that I wondered if clothes like this could be in a department store. Moreover, it was an outfit that would look very large when worn by my mother-in-law, who was big. When I visualized her, it was funny, but I barely held back the laughter and told her that it didn't suit her, but it seemed she really wanted to buy that outfit. She shouted at me with a loud voice that drew attention. "Hey, what are you going to do since you don't have an eye for clothes?" And I thought it would be different if you lived with my son. Still, you couldn't get rid of those grotesque eyes of yours, could you? This is why the family background is important. Is it because you're the daughter of a janitor? Because I'm the daughter of a janitor, so I have no taste. I never said anything like that. Are you deaf and you're still young? But my mother-in-law denied it until the end, even though I heard it clearly. She insisted that she never said anything like that. I felt like I wanted to run to my mother and cry, but I was grateful to my mother, who worked hard all her life, and I couldn't hurt her. Instead, I told this to my husband. When I spoke out loudly, my husband, who usually ignored me, took it seriously. But when my words were conveyed, my mother-in-law no longer came to my house, and she never contacted me. But I was in a bad mood somehow. It was as if she was trying to let me know that she was really angry with me. Then one day, a disastrous thing happened. That day was also the day when I made the biggest decision of my life. It was my mother's birthday, the day I went to the department store where my mom worked to have dinner with my mom and dad for her birthday. Usually, my mom waits for me at the entrance, but that day, strangely, I couldn't reach her. It was weird, so I went inside the department store while calling her. Then I heard a loud voice somewhere that was very familiar. "Wait, the floor here is too dirty?" "No, how the hell are you cleaning the floor?" "Oh, look at the dust." For questions. "Can't you just wipe it off?" "Do you want me to shop on this kind of dirty floor?" Why are these working people so irresponsible in their work? I saw that my mother-in-law was holding onto the cleaning person and was yelling at her. Plus, all the eyes of the people around were on them. Though I could only see the cleaning lady's back in the distance, but she hurriedly wiped with the mop, as if she was surprised. In the meantime, my mother-in-law acted as if she was going to grab the cleaning lady by the collar, demanding to call her supervisor right away. First of all, my mother-in-law looked very agitated, so I thought I should calm her down a little, so I headed there. However, even as I went, I had an ominous intuition. The body shape of the cleaning lady was familiar. Yes, that was my mother. "Mom," I said. "Yolanda," she replied, unable to look me in the eye. She hurriedly lowered her head. I couldn't quite accept the situation at hand, so I just looked at my mother-in-law with my eyes bulging out. But my mother-in-law simply said, "I said a word to your mother, but don't feel bad about it. She should also listen to the customer to be able to work responsibly in the future. It's as if I helped your mom to be able to work for a few more years." When I heard that, it was as if a hammer had hit me in the head. I felt like I finally knew one mistake I had made. It was a mistake to become her daughter-in-law of this family. At that moment, all the anger that I had suppressed so far welled up. After losing my temper, I grabbed my mother-in-law by the collar and threw her on the floor. She looked at me shocked, then she grabbed her waist with her tears welling up, and I grabbed my mom's hand and ran out of the department store. I didn't even know in what state of mind that I got out of there. After taking my mom to her house, I trudged home alone. Just then, my husband came in. I told him everything that happened that day and asked for a divorce. He said that I was overreacting when I was only mad at his mother and asked me to stop, but I ignored him. I stopped, but I ignored him and demanded a divorce, no matter what. My mom got humiliated openly by his mother like that, but he didn't even apologize on behalf of his mother and was only telling me that I was overreacting because I was too sensitive. I wondered whether he was a human being. Even if I was getting the divorce, I wasn't at all satisfied. Every day, the image of my mother, unable to hold her head up openly in front of my mother-in-law, would come to mind several times, and it felt like my heart would explode from the rage that remained. I also felt empty that the marriage that had begun with deep love had ended like this. At the time, I had no place to go after my divorce, so I was staying at my mother's house. I deliberately laughed more and ate more because I didn't want my mom to worry. I would cry alone with my face buried in my pillow because I could not hold back the tears that flowed at night. But one day, as if she knew how I felt, my mom came to my side when I was secretly crying and patted me, saying she was sorry. She said she got a job like that and I was given a hard time. I was the one who was sorry for her, but seeing my mom's face apologizing to me for being her child made my heart ache even more. At the same time, I felt a strange will inside me. It was a will that I planned to live a better life than my ex-in-laws. I came to my senses, interviewed at several companies, and got a job at a company with pretty decent benefits. Living diligently every day like my mother at the company I moved to, I worked very hard, thinking that it was a way to overcome the past. Because I worked diligently, a good opportunity also came along. While living such a busy life, everything about my ex-husband and his family were slowly being forgotten in my memory. Then one day, I learned the news of my ex-mother-in-law. When I came home, my mom's expression did not look good. Even as I watched her eat, she seemed to have something to say. When I asked what was going on, my mother slowly opened her mouth, and the words were so shocking that I froze. Urchins. Yolanda, I saw your ex-mother-in-law today, but she's with a strange man, a little younger man, but her outfit was strange. She had her arms in his, just like her lover. At the time, my mom had moved her workplace to a new place and was working. She said my ex-mother-in-law had her arm in arm with a stranger and was shopping for luxury goods. It was strange, so when my mom asked the staff around her, they said that my mom just didn't know because she didn't clean that particular floor. But my ex-mother-in-law came there practically every day at the same time, as if it was her living room, walking around all of the stores. Just around 3 in the afternoon, I went to the place where my mom worked to check on her. I saw my ex-mother-in-law's face, and my heart skipped a beat without even realizing it. My ex-mother-in-law, whom I haven't seen in a long time, was wearing a red dress that didn't really suit her and was smiling, with her arm in her man's arm. When I heard the contents of her conversation, I became disgusted and felt like vomiting. She said, "Honey, this is your watch. I'll buy it." When I said the other day that I was having a hard time, you came to my house, so don't feel burdened and accept it. Really? Thank you, darling. Tomorrow is your 60th birthday party, isn't it? I can't go there, but I still want to repay you, so see you tomorrow after the party at the place where we stayed before. You do remember where it is, right? The man whispering secretly to my ex-mother-in-law was obviously like a gigolo, and it was clear that my ex-father-in-law did not know. I was sure that it was a secret no one should know about. I was looking forward to the next day very much, just as she humiliated my mom openly before. And I fully prepared for the next day. After finding out where my ex-mother-in-law's 60th birthday party was being held through my ex-husband's social network, I headed there. That it was worth seeing the faces of my ex-in-laws when they saw me on the day of the party. "Hello, how are you, Mother? How are you, Eddie? How did you know we were here? No, why are you here? If you're divorced, you should go quietly. Why are you hanging around when I'm having a party? No one wants to see you here. Aren't you leaving right now? Other, I'm hurt. I'm here to still congratulate you on your 60th birthday. Then I'll go. Oh, I thought the family should see this picture before that." And I put the pre-printed photos in the hands of all of my ex-in-laws. It was a picture of my ex-mother-in-law and a man from a nightclub walking around a luxury store with their crossed arm in arm. Extras see that another photo was of the two entering a hotel and a photo of them kissing. After checking the picture, my ex-father-in-law's face immediately became white, and a sigh flowed from my ex-husband's mouth. His father yelled at his wife, "Are you still going in and out of there? Honey, please forgive me." I'll get down on my knees like this, please. We only met once. He begged and asked me to meet him. Inevitably, I was also dragged out. "Shut up. You're so old yet still hang out with that lowly young bum like this?" Fin in broad daylight. "People, pack up your bags and leave today. I won't give you a penny, so you know. Get out of my sight." "What are you doing?" "Get out right now, honey, please." When her husband yelled at her terribly, she knelt down and begged him not to abandon her. She poured out all kinds of words. My ex-husband was covering his face in suffering. His mother's loud wails echoed, and I ran out of there because I felt it was enough. It was havoc I made, but I no longer wanted to be involved. After that day, my ex-husband sent me abusive text messages, asking how I could do that, but I just ignored them. These days, I'm living very well. Maybe it's because I took revenge coolly, so I can eat well and sleep better. Even if I forgot, there was a wound in my heart that never would be healed. Now that I've gotten revenge for this, I feel like I've healed myself. I really think people do get what they deserve. Thank you, everyone who's listened to the story so far. I hope everyone stays in peace with no heartaches. Please cheer for me and write your comments of wisdom in the comment section. Pressing like and subscribing is a big help to me. Take care.